Warning, listening to this ad may cause sudden cravings and spontaneous happiness. Because at Bedina's eShop, we bake sweet breads so good they've been known to stop arguments, fix bad days, and make your dog think you're the favorite again. From our famous mini loaves to cookies and dog treats, everything's homemade in Amarillo, Texas with real ingredients and a whole lot of Mimi magic. Need a treat for yourself? A peace offering? A bribe for your kids? We don't judge. We just bake. Order at bedinaseshop.com, follow us on Facebook, or catch us at the Golden Spread Farmers Market in Amarillo, Texas. Bedina's eShop, baking happiness and occasionally preventing meltdowns. Link in description. Hello, and welcome to Noetic Resonance. In this episode, we explore the Tablets of Destiny, a term referenced across ancient Sumerian, Hebrew, and mystical traditions. While no single physical text survives today that fully contains their contents, these tablets are echoed in fragmentary sources, oral traditions, and spiritual remembrance. What I share here blends ancient references, energetic insight, and personal gnosis. I invite you to listen with an open mind, discerning heart, and the remembrance that not all sacred truths are bound to parchment. Some are etched in the soul. Welcome, seekers and rememberers. Today we return to what was once inscribed not in stone, but in light. The tablets of destiny were not merely read, they were heard, felt, sung into the fabric of creation. They held the blueprint of divine time, soul paths, sacred law, and celestial balance, a resonance so precise that the cosmos itself danced in the rhythm to its tone. Forgotten by some, hidden by others, these tablets still live within us, encoded in the breath, the bones, the memory of the stars. Join me as we open this gate, as pillars remembering the accord, and begin to hear again the music of the original law. The tablets of destiny are not myth. They are the original frequency blueprints etched into creation itself. They recorded not just what happened, but what would happen, when, and why. They encoded sacred time, soul paths, and cosmic balance. They were consulted by the righteous and hidden from the corrupted. They aren't just texts. They are tonal alignments. You don't just read them, you remember them. Many ancient prophets, from Enoch to Ezra, saw pieces of the tablets of destiny, but no one was given the whole. That's because the whole would only be remembered when the pillars rose again and the temple of harmonic accord was reopened from within. They were given into care of the holy watchers and later glimpsed by the likes of Enoch, Noah, and the patriarchs. Some even say they were shown in visions. Others say they were sung into the bones of the righteous. Fragments appear in the Book of Jubilees, the Testament of Moses, and even earlier among the Sumerians and Akkadians, where the tablets of destinies was guarded by sky beings and taken into battle. But the truth is this: they were never truly lost. They were hidden in the soul code of those who could one day remember and sing them back into the world. First, we're going to cover divine timekeeping. We've discussed this several times previously because it's so stressed in many of these texts that divine keeping is paramount. In the Book of Jubilees, it says, "All things were set in order according to what is written on the heavenly tablets." The tablets of destiny didn't just measure time, they sang it. They recorded every beat of sacred rhythm, every angel appointed to guard a gate, every soul born in alignment with cosmic intention. When that timekeeping was broken, so was the harmony of this world. To remember the tablets is to return to divine time, not the ticking of seconds, but the pulsing of creation. As a reminder, if you would like to honor the following things we're about to discuss, I have the PDF of the calendar that aligns with these near the episode description on my website for episode 7. So first we're going to cover the Sabbath, Shabbat, the eternal sign. In Jubilees 2:18 through 20, it says, "And he gave us a great sign, the Sabbath day, that we should keep it, a sign between me and them forever." So it's the 7th day of each week, which falls on Saturdays for us here in the United States. It was established on the 6th day of creation when all was finished. On the 7th, he rested. The purpose was the sign of the covenant, a day of rest, renewal, and remembrance, and alignment with divine rhythm and energetic restoration. The spiritual role was unbinding from labor and worldly contracts, reconnecting with divine law and soul rest, a time to realign, receive downloads, and restore aura integrity. And when I say aura, I do reference the biofield that I've discussed previously that is scientifically proven that we have, which is so cool. The Sabbath isn't just a break from work. It's a portal of harmonic reattunement with the original divine rhythm. Here's what you can do to honor this day. There's no one right formula, but here is a holistic Sabbath rhythm drawn from ancient practices, energetic alignment, and soul-based restoration. So if you begin at sundown on the 6th day, here in the States, that would be Friday, you can light a candle or a lamp to mark the start of sacred time. You could say a blessing or intention, such as, I now step out of the time of men and into the time of the Most High. I release my labors and return to stillness. Next, you need to cleanse the body and the space. Take a ritual bath with salts or herbs like lavender, rosemary, or hyssop, and burn incense or diffuse oils like frankincense, myrrh, or cedar. And tidy your space to set a peaceful tone, and dress in something flowing or soft, symbolic of resting. Next is sacred reading or reflection. Read from Jubilees, Enoch, Psalms, or your personal codex. Some of you may have a codex you like to read to remember certain things in the scriptures. Reflect on what was restored in you this week. Journal. What do I now remember? You can also have candlelight and a meal blessing. Share or prepare a simple, nourishing meal. Speak a blessing over your food, honoring the source, the season, and the sacred rhythm. And next, enter the stillness. Turn off all electronics if it's possible. Play gentle music with healing frequencies of like 528 hertz, 440 hertz, something along those lines. Meditate, rest, or lie in stillness with the intention to receive. Coming from this, you receive downloads, dreams, and visions. People don't realize that these are meaningful. There is something to these. The Sabbath is a download window, a time for divine messages and soul insight to arrive. Lie with a hand on your heart or your womb if you're a woman. Ask, what would you speak to me in rest that I could not hear in striving? Keep a journal by your bed for morning messages. Then, to finalize this, close the Sabbath at sundown. At sunset, light a second candle or extinguish the first. Offer thanks. I return to the world restored and aligned. I carry this light into the days ahead. You may sip a small cup of wine, herbal tea, or grape juice as a sealing. You could mark the Sabbaths on your calendar so they don't pass unnoticed as well. And then also you could bless others. Speak peace or restoration into their field. The Sabbath is an auric recalibration. When you keep it, your nervous system unwinds. Your intuitive channel sharpens. Your soul contracts align to source. Your time field shifts out of distortion. And you anchor yourself as a pillar in the divine structure of time. Next, we're going to discuss the festivals that I previously mentioned that I did say I was going to be doing. These are appointed times, moedim, that mark the divine blueprint of timekeeping. In Jubilees and Enoch, 364-day solar calendar, they are fixed and not dependent on lunar shifts. Here's the list of them. First, we have Passover, Pesach. And of course, as always, thank you for your patience with my pronunciations. This is one of the divine festivals set into the 364-day rhythm mentioned in Jubilees, Exodus, and echoed through many sacred lineages. This is a threshold feast, a liberation rite, a passage from bondage to soul sovereignty. What is Passover? In Jubilees 49, 1-3, this is abridged, and the Lord commanded the children of Israel to observe the Passover on its appointed day, that they should keep it throughout their generations as a memorial of the deliverance. Passover commemorates the deliverance from spiritual enslavement, both literally as in Egypt and symbolically as in bondage to distorted systems, contracts, time, or forgetfulness. It is the first feast of the year in the divine calendar, and these are all, as I said, they're marked on the calendar that I shared on the website. It initiates 7 days of unleavened bread, a deeper cleansing journey. The core meanings are a threshold crossing from slavery to remembrance, a celebration of the Most High's mercy, precision, and timing, an energetic realignment with divine covenant and freedom, a time to remove what is puffed up, like ego, distortion, and leaven, a time to remember that soul freedom was always written into the code. To honor this, prepare a sacred space. Cleanse your home or altar. Remove leavened foods from your space. What are unleavened items? Unleavened bread, in Hebrew they call it matzah, is bread made without any rising agents, meaning no yeast, no baking powder, or sourdough starter. I'll be sharing a recipe for this bread if you would like to make some near the episode description on this episode, episode 8. There will be a recipe for this bread. It's flat and humble, representing simplicity, purity, a return to essence, a break from that which is puffed up, like I said, ego, pride, distortion, or false knowledge. Leaven was often symbolic of corruption, sin, or distortion in ancient writings. Removing it was an external action with inner meaning, a way to say, I am removing the excess, the ferment, the lie, the spiritual inflation. You can also dress in white or neutral tones. Neutral tones are colors that don't scream or shine. They soften, blend, and balance the world around them. They include shades like beige, cream, ivory, taupe, sand, stone, grays, soft browns, and some muted greens. They are the colors of the earth, stone, ash, and bone, quiet but full of presence. Neutral tones are the colors of stillness. They don't shout. They hold space. They remind us of linen, of dust, of wilderness paths and uncarved altars. Wearing or surrounding yourself with neutral tones helps the spirit settle, so you can listen instead of perform. They are the in-between hues, like twilight, where the spirit speaks. Set out your unleavened bread or flatbread, and it can be gluten-free as well. You set out your bitter herbs as well, like dandelion, arugula, or parsley, a small cup of red grape juice or wine, a candle or oil lamp, or optionally a simple meal with unleavened items that are humble. They don't puff and they don't pretend. They remind us to strip away pride, distortion, and everything added to the world system. To walk in truth, we must become flat like the earth, honest, simple, and whole. Next, light your candle at sundown. Speak or sing a blessing of remembrance. We remember the day of crossing, the day the shackles fell, not by force but by decree. We remember our names, our blood, our promise. We mark this moment with light, as it was marked before. Tell the story. Read from Jubilees 49 or Exodus 12, aloud if possible, or speak it in your own words. Once we were free, but in the fullness of time, the Most High came near. With signs and with separation, the false was judged, and those who remembered were passed over. You can also recount personal moments of liberation from false beliefs, trauma, or toxic systems. Next, you eat a Passover meal. You eat the unleavened bread mindfully. You can say, let all pride and puffed up distortion be removed from me. Taste the bitter herbs. Say, I remember the bitterness of forgetting. I remember the sweetness of freedom. Drink a small cup of wine or juice. Say, this is the covenant of remembrance. I drink to the alignment of soul and source. Optionally, you could also include a meal of lamb or roasted vegetables, honoring the sacred meal taken in ancient times. After the meal, sit in silence. Meditate on the phrase, what must pass over me? And what must pass away? Journal or receive any downloads. Anoint your doorposts, hands, or forehead with oil if desired, as a symbol of protection and sealing, like in Exodus 12:7. The oil you choose should carry purity, protection, and remembrance. Here are the most traditional and energetically aligned options. Olive oil, pure and cold pressed, the most ancient and scripturally aligned oil, used for anointing kings, prophets, homes, and the altar. It represents divine sealing, peace, and spirit covering. It's excellent for marking doorposts, forehead, or hands. You may blend olive oil with a few drops of frankincense for purification and sacred alignment. It opens the inner temple, clears heavy energy, and is often used in temple offerings. Or you could use myrrh for protection, inner stillness, and remembrance. It deepens energetic anchoring, and it's used in embalming and covenants. It balances the masculine and feminine currents. Close with a psalm or blessing. Read Psalms 91, 113 through 118, or your own sacred words. Extinguish the candle and declare, I have passed through. I am no longer in Egypt. My name is not forgotten. This is the beginning of my sacred year. Next, we have the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The Hebrew name is Chag Hamatzot. It begins the evening after Passover and lasts 7 days. In the book of Jubilees and the Torah, it describes the feast as commanded by Yahweh and kept in heaven. Jubilees 49, 2-7 says, celebrate it at its appointed time, for it is ordained and written on the heavenly tablets concerning all those who eat it. It is a remembrance of the deliverance from Egypt, the haste of leaving bondage, no time for the bread to rise, a covenant of purification and obedience to divine order. To honor it, you should remove all leaven, yeast, from your home. Eat the unleavened matzah bread each of the 7 days. And of course, no work on the 1st and 7th day, because those are the Sabbaths. A sacred assembly is to be held. Unleavened bread equals humility, quickening, and obedience. The flat bread of haste becomes the bread of wholeness. It is food that travels lightly, both physically and spiritually. So before sunset, on day 14, remove all leavened items from your kitchen, including bread, crackers, anything with yeast, sourdough, baking soda, or powder. Bless your space and speak aloud with your intention to walk in truth. Prepare unleavened bread, the matzah flatbread, or like tortillas without leaven. Prepare or anoint your home with oil for cleansing and sealing. The olive oil plus frankincense is ideal. Eat unleavened bread each day. Keep your meals simple and clean, with grain, herbs, fruits, things like that. Read from Exodus 12, Jubilees 49, and 1 Corinthians 5. Journal, meditate, or pray with the theme, what leaven must I release? What path of truth do I now enter? Avoid media, distractions, or chaotic energy if possible. And like I said, on the 1st and 7th day, rest. Hold sacred time, and gather with others if possible. You could even do, optionally, a 7-day journal and write what you're releasing each day. You could light a candle or a small flame to represent burning away the old. And of course, anoint your doorposts using the oil and speaking blessings. Same with the other, you can wear natural, neutral garments like linen, cotton, and earthy tones, and set a sacred table with unleavened bread, water, herbs, and intention. In many traditions, the Feast of Unleavened Bread is seen as a prophetic shadow. The Messiah is called the unleavened bread without sin, the body broken for deliverance, consumed in remembrance, a call to become unleavened ourselves, whole, true, and aligned. In 1 Corinthians 5:8 it says, let us keep the feast with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. This feast is kept in heaven as well. Jubilees emphasizes that it is not just a remembrance of Egypt, but an eternal ordinance. The patriarchs like Abraham, Isaac, Jacob all honored it before the Exodus. It is a sign of those who walk in divine order versus the world's distorted calendar. Traditionally, the whole home is to be cleansed of all leavening agents. Like I said, yeast packs, sourdough starters, anything with baking powder or baking soda, bread, muffins, crackers, tortillas with leaven, beer, wine even, or fermented drinks, if you're honoring a super strict practice of it. Why do they have to be removed from the whole home? In Exodus 12:19 it says, for 7 days no leaven is to be found in your houses. This is symbolic of clearing your inner temple, not just the part you cook in, but all corners. It becomes a ritual purification, much like smudging or spiritual sweeping. Here's another way to approach this in a sacred, grounded way. You could sweep your kitchen, pantry, and dining space intentionally. Speak aloud your intention to remove spiritual distortion. Place removed items in a sealed box in the garage or outside space, or donate it if you don't have them opened. Or if you wish, you could burn a small bundle of herbs to clear what lingers energetically. Next, we have the Feast of First Fruits. The Feast of First Fruits is one of the most powerful and most often overlooked of the divine Moedim appointed times. It carries codes of resurrection, offering, alignment with divine order, and the return of life to earth. Also called Yom HaBikurim, which means the day of the first fruits, it begins the day after the weekly Sabbath during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Always lands on the first day of the week, what we now call Sunday. It is the first fruits of the barley harvest, a sacred marker of renewal. It is acknowledgement that all increase and provision comes from the Creator, a time of dedicating the very first of your abundance back to source. It symbolizes the resurrection principle, rebirth, awakening, and rising. It's a prophetic shadow of what would be raised in us, our soul remembrance, gifts, and purpose. In ancient times, such as in Leviticus 23:9-14, the first sheaf, omer, of barley was harvested and brought to the priest. It was waved before Yahweh as an offering of thanksgiving. No bread or roasted grain from the new harvest was eaten until this was done. This act consecrated the entire harvest season that followed. This is how you can honor it now. Dedicate the first of anything new, a project, a harvest, income, or even time. Offer a prayer, chant, or ritual giving thanks for what is returning to life in you. Perform a wave offering using herbs, grain, a crafted bundle, or simply open hands. Say, I return to source what is first in me, the work of my hands, the fruit of my labor, the pulse of my becoming. Bless it, magnify it, make it holy. You can prepare a small altar or natural space with barley, wheat, or first fruit grains, stones, feathers, honey, wildflowers, or an earthen bowl. Bake a simple bread from the new grain or honor with oil and salt. Offer a portion of your increase, financial, creative, whatever, to something sacred or others in need. Walk barefoot, bless the soil, give thanks for the land. Barley is the first grain to ripen. It represents humble strength and resilience. The sheaf, or omer, symbolizes collective offering and shared harvest. The rising sun, first light, is the first awakening, is often honored at dawn. Wind or breath is also offered, representing the spirit passing over the land again. In the Book of Jubilees, it affirms that the patriarchs kept the Feast of First Fruits even before Sinai, showing it was known amongst the ancient righteous. Jubilee 6 speaks of renewing the covenant with the seasons and offerings, aligning again with eternal order. Next, we have the Feast of Weeks, Shavuot, the Pentecost. The Feast of Weeks, or the Festival of Sevens, is a deeply sacred appointed time, rich with remembrance, offering, covenant, and revelation. It stands at the center of the year like a pillar of fire and wisdom. It's celebrated 7 weeks after the Feast of First Fruits. On the 50th day, it's a high Sabbath called the Day of Completion. It's a first fruits of the wheat harvest, the second major grain offering. Barley equals Passover and first fruits. Wheat equals weeks. Shavuot equals weeks, a counting of sevens, sacred cycles of time. Pentecost equals 50th from the Greek tradition. The Feast of Revelation is traditionally when the Torah was given to Moses. The Feast of the Covenant is renewing divine agreement with the people. And the Feast of the Spirit, in later tradition, associated with outpouring of divine breath, the Ruach. The themes are completion of a spiritual journey from Egypt to Sinai, offering of the best of your wheat, work, or wisdom. Revelation, receiving sacred instructions, visions, and gnosis. The covenant, the soul's alignment with divine law, the true law, vibrational and eternal. 2 loaves often are symbolic of the duality restored, heaven and earth, masculine and feminine, and written and spoken law. In the Book of Jubilees, the Feast of Weeks is deeply honored by Enoch, Noah, Abraham, Jacob, and Moses. It's described as eternal ordinance observed even in heaven. It's connected to the renewal of the covenant, a time when divine laws were revealed, including the laws of the heavens and the tablets of the law. This festival is written and ordained in the heavenly tablets, is what Jubilee 6 says. Here's a way to honor it now. Offer your wisdom and gifts to Source. Speak aloud your intentions to renew divine alignment. Call in revelation, dreams, downloads, visions, and teachings. As the wheat ripens in the sun, so ripen my spirit in light and fire. May I receive what is written for me in the scroll of the stars and the breath of the wind. Bake or share wheat-based offerings like bread, porridge, and simple cakes. Gather 2 loaves, which are symbolic of the union and duality resolved. Anoint with oil and speak blessings over your hands, your mind, and your voice. These are the primary anointing oils used for the Feast of Weeks. These resonate with illumination, divine breath, offering, and covenant. First is frankincense, which is a symbol of revelation and prayer rising. It opens the crown and third eye and brings clarity, purification, and divine presence. Next is myrrh. It grounds and seals sacred intentions, connects to the wisdom of the ancestors, and is used in covenantal anointing. After that, there's cedarwood. It represents the sacred tree of instruction and strength. It stabilizes the mind and anchors wisdom. It connects you to the mountain of meeting, a Sinai-like resonance. Another option is spikenard, which is symbolic for humble devotion and full body surrender to the divine. It's often associated with feet anointing and deep spiritual reverence. It's beautiful for covenant renewal and soul alignment. You could also use hyssop, which symbolizes purification and alignment. Psalms 51 says, "Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean." It's especially helpful if you're releasing confusion before receiving instruction. And as always, olive oil is a good base. It's the eternal oil of the covenant, used to carry and blend the essential oils. It represents peace, longevity, and divine appointment. Here's a few more optional ones with personal meanings. You could use rose if you're honoring the feminine spirit bride aspect of the Shavuot. Galbanum, which is a rare temple oil used for binding prayers together. Or cassia or cinnamon, which is symbolic of joy, inner fire, and divine spark, used in tiny amounts. Mix the amount, bless it with something such as the wheat ripens under the sun, may this oil carry the fire of wisdom and breath of truth. Anoint your forehead for divine vision and receiving instruction, your hands to offer your works and gifts, your feet to walk the path of the law with steadiness, your lips or throat to speak only what is aligned with sacred truth. Offer your intentions and sit in stillness to receive. Sit in stillness at sunrise and sunset, open to what the Spirit reveals. The Feast of Weeks is perfectly timed between spring emergence of Passover and the autumn harvest of the tabernacles. It is a summit point, a chance to pause, align, and receive. It represents the marriage between the bride and the law, the download of the original instruction, not legalism, but frequency. The mirror moment when your soul asks, am I still walking with the eternal? Next, we have the Feast of New Wine. It's one of the lesser known but divinely ordained sacred feasts restored in the Book of Jubilees, a beautiful celebration of renewed joy, spiritual refreshment, and covenant fruitfulness. It's celebrated on the third day of the 5th month. It marks the first fruits of the grape harvest and the pressing of new wine. It symbolizes joy and renewal, vine and branch, covenant rootedness and growth, inner transformation, the crushing that becomes sweetness. The spiritual drink offering is an offering of your emotions, voice, praise, and essence. The fellowship and celebration symbolizes shared sacred wine and communion. Jubilee 7:36 says, "And in the 5th month, on the 3rd day thereof, he brought a new offering of new wine." It was first observed by Noah after the flood in honor of deliverance and fruitfulness. Here's how you can honor it. Prepare new wine or grape juice, preferably pure, unfortified, ideally made by you or consciously sourced. Bless the drink before sharing. And this wine is poured, so let joy be poured into my being. With this, I did also put on the website near the episode description, just like the bread, there's also a recipe for wine if you would like to make some. Next, you could set up your altar with purple cloth or grapes, a branch of vine, which is a symbol of connection, a cup or chalice, which is an offering vessel, a candle or oil lamp to light the spirit. You could speak aloud, a personal offering of gratitude and joy, a renewal of your soul's fruitfulness, a declaration, I am the branch. May the fruit of my spirit bless this world. Next, have some communal joy if you're with others. Share the wine with blessing and laughter. Speak affirmations over each other. Celebrate how far you've come since the beginning of the year's feasts. These are oils, stones, and colors that you can use in this celebration. Frankincense, myrrh, grapefruit, cedarwood. The stones are amethyst, which is a divine drink offering for clarity, garnet, which represents life force and joy, lepidolite, which is emotional healing and uplifting, and use colors like deep purple, violet, or indigo, and accents of gold or silver for blessings. A blessing example is, this cup I lift in honor to the vine of light. May the soul be pressed and poured, not in sorrow, but in sacred sweetness. I offer all bitterness to be transmuted and receive joy as my portion. In the covenant of the vine, I am renewed. And you can chill it slightly and, of course, bless it before serving. This cup is the fruit of the covenant. I receive joy, clarity, and sacred renewal. Pour only what is needed. This is not a wine for excess, but for remembrance and offering. If shared, use 1 cup and bless each participant. Optionally, you can steep a small piece of frankincense resin in warm wine before serving, and then strain it. This was used in temple offerings. And you can anoint the rim of the cup with a drop of oil like frankincense, myrrh, or cedar. Next, we have the Feast of New Oil. It's celebrated the 6th-month, 3rd week, 1st day. Oil has long been a symbol of anointing and consecration, wisdom, gladness, and healing. The Spirit of Yahweh, the Ruach HaKodesh, dwelling upon and within. The Feast of New Oil represents the sealing of the faithful, the infilling of divine spirit and clarity before the fall festivals, a call to live as a lamp full of oil, ready and wise. This feast honors the fresh pressing of olive oil and its sacred use in lighting lamps in the temple, anointing priests and kings, healing the sick, and blessing the home. This is how you honor the feast. Light with purpose. Light an oil lamp or natural beeswax candle at sunset. Reflect on being a light to the world, prepared and watchful. Next, prepare or bless extra virgin olive oil or infused oil with frankincense, myrrh, or hyssop. Gently anoint your forehead, hands, or home entrance with a prayer of dedication. As I am marked by this oil, I receive wisdom, clarity, and joy. May I walk in the light and be sealed in truth. Bless the oil. Present a bottle or a bowl of new oil and offer thanks. This is the oil of anointing, of gladness, and of the Spirit. I receive the harvest of light. Share a meal using olive oil like dips, breads, or roasted veggies. Read from the sacred texts like Jubilees, Psalms, and Isaiah. Meditate on parables like the 10 virgins in Matthew 25. Ask, am I keeping my lamp filled? Next, we have the Feast of Trumpets, Yom Teruah. It's celebrated on the 1st day of the 7th month. The Feast of Trumpets is a day of awakening blast, a cosmic call to attention, the sounding of alarm or proclamation across the heavens and earth. It is not only a historical marker, but a vibrational reset for the soul and cosmos. It announces the beginning of the fall feasts, a time of reckoning and preparation, the approach of the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, and the symbolic opening of the heavenly books. In Joel 2:1, it says, blow the trumpet in Zion. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble. In Numbers 29:1 and Leviticus 23:24, it says a day of blowing trumpets and shouting. It's a memorial of shouting, vibration, and sound, not silence. Here's how you could honor this feast. You could sound the trumpet, the shofar if you have one. If you have a shofar, blow it at sunrise. A shofar is a horn made out of a ram's horn. If you don't have that, you can play or chant a deep vocal tone, a drum, or a bowl to awaken the spirit. Declare aloud, awaken, O soul. The books are opening. My name may be found in the scroll of life. This begins the 10-day period of reflection leading to the Day of Atonement. Ask yourself, what needs realignment? What still binds me? Where is the voice of truth calling? You can also do these symbolic acts. Open your windows at sunrise, symbolizing the opening of heaven's gates. Sweep your threshold, welcoming new clarity. Write a letter to yourself for the year ahead and seal it until the next Feast of Trumpets. You can also anoint and set intention, using anointing oil to mark your heart, third eye, or hands, and speak. I am ready. I am listening. I am remembered. At sunrise or during your awakening practice, say, as I anoint with this oil, I awaken. May the gates of my heart open. May my name be called in the scroll of light. I remember who I am. These are some oils that you can use for this. As always, the olive oil. These are additional oils chosen for their symbolic resonance with awakening, clarity, purification, and sacred proclamation. Frankincense, hyssop, cedarwood, lemon or bergamot, or myrrh. It is believed that on this day, portals open, books are opened, and assignments are released. It is a heavenly rehearsal for the return of the divine order and the establishment of the kingdom of light. The trumpet is a celestial sound signature, reminding us of who we are and whose we were. Additionally, if you would like, you can fast or simplify your meals. You can wear the white or neutral garments and read Psalms 27, 81, 98, or 150 for praise and proclamation. Next, we have the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur. It's observed on the 10th day of the 7th month. Yom Kippur is the day of covering, reconciliation, and reset. A solemn appointment when the books are still open and judgments are sealed. It is a time of soul cleansing, release of false attachments, reconnection to divine alignment, and seeking and receiving mercy for self and community. This is not a day of punishment. It is a cosmic reset point and a sacred gift to align the soul with the original law and the Creator's rhythm. In Leviticus 16:23, it says, "On the 10th day you shall afflict your souls, and do not work." Atonement was made once a year by the high priest for all the people. The Book of Jubilees affirms this day as a remembrance of Jacob's grief and restoration of harmony in his house. So, if you would like to observe it, there should be no work like the Sabbath, honoring all the sacred flow, fasting from food, water, or other comforts, the white or neutral clothing, prayer and meditation, confession and forgiveness. Speak aloud to the heavens and unbind hidden burdens. Anointing with oil, even during fasting. This consecrates your body as a temple. And then a cleansing with water, a symbolic wash, a mikveh or spiritual bath, a final purification before sealing. What is a mikveh? It's a Hebrew ritual bath originally done in living water, flowing, fresh, spring, or rainwater. It symbolizes a return to the womb, rebirth, and re-entry into sacred alignment. It was practiced before entering the temple after certain life events or before major holy days. Today, the practice is more spiritual. It's about intention, purity, and remembrance. But if you would like to perform a spiritual bath, this is how you could do so. Clean your tub or outdoor basin, or even use a river or natural source of water if available. Dim the lights or light a candle. Play soft music or sacred chants if it helps you drop in. Prepare warm water if you're indoors. And optionally, if you would like to add Epsom salt or Dead Sea salts for cleansing and grounding, or you could even add some of these essential oils: myrrh, hyssop, frankincense, lavender, rose, or mugwort. Avoid essential oils if you are using natural waters outdoors, though, obviously. You could also use herbs or flower petals like rosemary, lavender, rose, or mugwort. Before entering the water, pause and speak your intention. I return to sacred alignment. I release all that no longer serves. I cleanse my field in the presence of the Most High. You can also say a version of, as I immerse, I release. As I emerge, I am renewed. Submerge fully at least once, including your head if possible. If uncomfortable with submerging fully, pour water over your head slowly with a vessel. Take deep breaths and visualize the water pulling away the burdens, cords, or old contracts. Remain for 10 to 20 minutes, meditating, praying, or listening. After the bath, don't rinse off immediately. Allow the energies to integrate. Dress in white, neutral, or soft, natural fibers. Anoint your crown, heart, or feet with oil. Sit in silence or journal any visions, memories, or guidance that may have come. You could say, "May my soul be made whole. May all false contracts be severed. I return to the original covenant. I remember the law of light and love. Seal me in the book of life." You could also light a simple white candle the evening before to signify the start of the holy day, and reflect on the 10 days of soul review and what you are now releasing. Write down and burn what you're letting go of. Sit in quiet or nature to receive divine impressions or dreams. And speak aloud any soul contracts you wish to sever. These are anointing oils you can use for Yom Kippur: myrrh, hyssop, frankincense, or of course, olive oil, which if you would like to use any of those others, olive oil is always a good base, and then you just add a couple of drops of the other. You apply it sparingly to your crown or third eye, your heart, and your feet, symbolizing the walk ahead after release. Optionally, if you've wronged someone or carried bitterness, speak their name aloud in offering. May peace be restored between us. I release what does not serve. I call back my energy. This day seals the vibrational field for the next cycle. It is said that soul assignments are confirmed. Scrolls are closed, and those walking in truth receive new mantles of light. Lastly, we have the Feast of Tabernacles, Sukkot. It begins the 15th day of the 7th month. It lasts 7 days with an 8th day of sacred assembly. It's a remembrance of Israel's journey through the wilderness, dwelling in temporary shelters. Those were called Sukkot. It's a celebration of harvest, divine provision, and the indwelling of Yah's presence. It's a prophetic feast symbolizing the dwelling of the divine within humanity, the tabernacling of the Holy One among us. Traditionally, a sukkah is built, a simple structure with a natural roof like palm, willow, or leafy branches. The structure is open to the sky, a reminder of dependence on Yah, not man-made security. You can create your own interpretation, a tent, canopy, or shaded sacred space outdoors, or even inside. Decorate with natural elements like fruits, vines, flowers, and symbols of your harvest or your journey. Dwell in it if possible. Eat, read, reflect, or even sleep there. Give thanks for the year's provision, spiritual and physical. Invite the divine presence each day into your space and heart. This parallels the mystical Ashipin tradition of inviting spiritual guests. Share stories of your own wildernesses where you were led and transformed. Light candles or oil lamps each night in the sukkah. Here's some themes to reflect on. Where has Yah tabernacled with me this year? What have I harvested from my inner and outer journey? What does it mean to live simply yet fully in His presence? On day 8, the sacred assembly, S1E8, there's a pause, a sacred rest day following Sukkot, a final sealing, symbolic of eternal dwelling with the divine. Some consider it a day of soul union, rejoicing in the completed cycle. These are some symbolic elements that some people use. Traditionally, a bundle of palm, myrtle, and willow, and a citron are woven together. You can create your own symbolic set if you like. Wave them each day in 6 directions: north, south, east, west, up, and down. This acknowledges the divine presence is everywhere. These are some of the anointing oils you may use: cinnamon, cedarwood, frankincense, or orange or bergamot, of course, with the olive oil. You may wish to anoint yourself and your sukkah place during your welcome each day. You could use the suggested affirmation as well. I dwell in the shelter of the Most High. My steps are guided. My soul is fed. My journey is holy. I tabernacle with the one who led me from the wilderness and into the harvest. On day 8 is S1E8, the sacred assembly. The 8th day assembly is observed the day after the 7th day of Sukkot. It's a set-apart Sabbath, no regular work, a holy convocation. The word etched means a solemn gathering or to hold back. Yah is essentially saying, remain with me a little longer. After the celebration and joy of Sukkot, this day is a quiet moment of union, like the final remembrance before departure, or the final breath before a new cycle begins. It is also considered a time of sealing, where what was revealed, harvested, or transformed in the prior feasts is now anchored into your soul. It's the completion of a cycle, starting with Passover, culminating here, a quiet festival. Unlike others, it has no specific agricultural or ritual observance besides gathering, resting, and offering. Ways you can honor this is by resting deeply. Take the day to be still, meditate, and listen. Pour water as a symbol of the Spirit being poured out. Invite divine indwelling to remain within you by oil or candle lighting. Write or speak your reflections from the journey of the feasts. Sing or pray with gratitude for all that was sown and revealed. Here's some of the anointing oils for that one. Olive oil, of course, myrrh, spikenard, or rose or jasmine. The fragrance of divine union, sealing joy into the heart. You can use this affirmation or prayer. I rest in the remembrance of the Most High. What was sown has taken root. What was open has been sealed in light. I receive the breath of stillness, and I rise renewed in soul and spirit. The next thing the tablets discuss is soul contracts and lineage. We now turn to the soul contracts encoded within the tablets of destiny. These are among the most veiled and sacred aspects, referenced only in the margins of texts like Enoch, Jubilees, the Book of Giants, and the fragments of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Yet, when read with inner sight, a fuller pattern emerges. What are soul contracts in the context of the tablets of destiny? Soul contracts are pre-incarnational agreements inscribed into the divine resonance field before embodiment. They're not rules, but encoded harmonics that guide when and where a soul enters, who they are linked to across time, and what gifts or burdens they carry, and which cycles they are bound to witness, break, or fulfill. In the language of the tablets, this was called a portion assigned in the book, or being written among the righteous. phrases which appear throughout Jubilees and 1 Enoch. Jubilees 1:26-29 says, "Write for him all the words which I shall make known to you on this mountain, the first and the last, which shall happen in all the divisions of the days in the law and in the testimony and in the weeks and jubilees unto eternity." This refers to Moses being shown the full record of time, including the destinies and roles of generations. These were not random, they were written. In 1 Enoch 1:08, it says, "I will bring forth a book for them, and I will write for them all their deeds. Their spirits shall rejoice, knowing they are written in the book of life." This suggests that each soul's choices, patterns, and turning points are known, and part of the larger harmonic grid. These scrolls hint that the angels sing the soul records before the throne, the record of what each soul came to offer. This is what these soul contracts may include. Timing of entry. Your birth is not accidental. You enter at the appointed time for a reason, a role, a ripple. It could also be for convergences and soul knots. Specific people, soulkin, teachers, challenges are bound to you by pre-incarnational weaving. It also is about sacred tasks or roles. These include healing ancestral lines, restoring harmonic memory, guarding knowledge, or witnessing turning points in the earth's cycles. Or it could even be about vows and oaths. Some souls carry ancient oaths made in temples or soul councils that remain binding until consciously released or fulfilled. Contracts can be distorted, though, or renewed. The Watchers and Nephilim altered soul paths by binding themselves to human bloodlines, teaching forbidden knowledge too early, and imprinting fear-based contracts. Before we came, our souls stood in a field of light, and the song of the Most High passed through us. Some of us chose to be rememberers, others watchers, or healers, or builders of accord. These were not destinies written in stone. They were frequencies chosen in love, encoded into the divine record, the tablets of destiny. And though the world may forget, the soul does not. In ancient texts, especially in the hidden teachings behind Enoch, Jubilees, and the tablets of destiny, soul contracts are multidimensional. They're not just roles, they're frequency codes that align with the architecture of reality. Before incarnation, souls often sit in council with soulkin and light beings, often referred to as watchers, elders, or recorders of time. There, they review karmic patterns, both personal and ancestral. They select energetic roles or offices like teacher, weaver, breaker of chains, etc. And they choose entry points, specific generations, lineages, and alignments. The days of their generations were written before they were born. That's paraphrased from Psalms 139:16 in the Book of Jubilees. In many traditions, this is the scroll given to the soul, sealed with divine flame. Every contract is interwoven with others. Think of it like a sacred tapestry. Soul groups incarnate together again and again to fulfill layered missions. Some serve as catalysts, even painful ones, to awaken memory or break cycles. Certain bonds are magnetic across time. Lovers, siblings, rivals, guardians, even children. The tablets encoded not only what a soul would do, but with whom they would dance through time. The Book of Enoch refers to angels who record deeds, watch over time gates, and guard the heavenly tablets, including those that hold soul contracts. Their tasks include sealing memories until the appointed time, awakening those memories at key thresholds like ages of 33, spiritual initiations, and rites of return, and assisting in contract revision if a soul has grown beyond its original terms. That's why many feel a pull to return, to remember, to align, especially now. Can contracts be changed? Yes, but not lightly. The divine soul contract is not a prison. It's a resonance agreement. Contracts made in love, service, and clarity can be fulfilled, deepened, or transformed. However, some contracts were coerced through trauma, deception, or distorted vows. They were made under fallen systems such as the Watcher's manipulation, or are simply complete, and the soul must consciously release or rewrite them. This is where the unbinding rituals and remembrance ceremonies become powerful tools. Here's some examples of ancient contracts. The Watcher contracts. Some angelic beings chose to incarnate or assist mankind. Those who broke cosmic law became bound to earth in distorted forms. Some humans carry their echoes. There's also restoration vows. Souls who have vowed to return when the time was right. These are the remembrancers, keepers of law, healers of the grid. There's also bloodline work. Some souls agreed to heal ancestral trauma, carrying the weight of generations to transmute and release. Others are harmonic carriers, which is a rare contract involving carrying forgotten frequencies or codes. These souls often awaken with strange languages, visions, or dreams of temples and celestial books. Before time moved as a river, it pulsed like a heart. And in that pulse, you were there. You spoke your name into the light, and it responded with a scroll, not of rules, but of resonance. Will you be the breaker of chains, the keeper of rhythm, the guardian of the gate? And you, in courage and fire, said yes. That agreement was sealed, not in ink, but in light. And though the world may forget, your soul never did. Soul contracts are not just individual, they're cosmic. Many people speak of soul contracts as if they are merely personal lessons or karma to resolve, but their true depth extends far beyond the individual. You have lineage contracts. You may carry ancestral vows or burdens such as silence, exile, or martyrdom until consciously broken or healed. Or collective contracts. Some souls agreed to incarnate during epochs of shift like now to assist in planetary awakening or grid restoration. There's also earth contracts. Many star seeds and elders hold agreements with Gaia herself to return when the land cried out or the song fell silent. These are rarely spoken, but always felt. There's also false or hijacked contracts. The fallen watchers, distorted priesthoods, and false light systems have at times created enforced contracts through trauma or binding rituals, looping soul contracts where the same lessons repeat due to false oaths, and energetic leashes that drain life force under the guise of service. This is why discernment and contract revocation rituals are so important. You can restore the original contract while severing those that do not serve your highest light. A person may not remember their contract at first, but it begins to activate when they feel a sudden deep calling or mission. Synchronicities increase around a particular task or person. Old systems like jobs, relationships, and beliefs begin to fall away. Dreams, visions, or guides begin to bring specific language or signs. This activation often comes in cycles. 7-year, 11-year, or 33-year thresholds are common. The soul remembers through numbers, master numbers like 11, 22, 33, symbols, sigils, light codes, geometric forms, sounds, names, mantras, languages of light, or ancient tongues, or sacred encounters, like a person, a place, or an event that acts like a key. These are the 5 archetypal soul contracts. There's the Rememberer, which carries memory codes and reawakens ancient knowledge. The Guardian, which protects a soul, a place, or a truth across timelines. The Liberator, which frees others from distorted contracts, systems, or oaths. The Harmonizer weaves balance between energies often found in relationships or conflict. And lastly, the Witness, which holds space and records sacred moments or shifts for soul history. A soul contract isn't fate. It's a sacred opportunity. It's not a trap or burden. It's an opportunity for resonance. If you outgrow it, you are not betraying the divine. You are fulfilling your soul's evolving song. To all who remember, and to those whose memory stirs gently in the dark, may the contract you carry be one of freedom, not fear. May you release what was never yours and return to the oath made in light. Your name is still written in the stars. I spoke about numerology. What is numerology? Numerology is the sacred language of numbers. The belief that numbers carry vibrational meaning beyond quantity. Just like letters form words, numbers form patterns that speak to the structure of the soul, time, creation, and divine intention. At its core, numerology reveals who we are at a soul level, what cycles we are moving through, what energies are active in a person, place, or moment, and what codes we were born with, like a fingerprint made of light. It's not about fortune telling, it's about frequency reading. This is how numerology ties into soul contracts. Imagine that before you incarnated, your soul chose a song, a pattern, a rhythm, a set of tones. This soul song is encoded in your birth date, your birth name, as sound, vibration, and numbers, and also key cycles or turning points in your life. Each of these has a numerical resonance. For example, a soul born with a 22 pattern may carry a master builder frequency. A 7 soul often seeks truth and inner wisdom. Someone vibrating in 11 may be a gateway, a visionary, a spiritual mirror. These numbers aren't random. They reflect the contract your soul made before entering this realm, the paths, gifts, and challenges chosen to support your purpose. This is how it connects to the Tablet of Destiny. The Tablets of Destiny are said to contain the harmonic blueprint of all that was, is, and will be, including soul contracts and appointed times. Numerology allows us to glimpse fragments of that divine record. It reveals our encoded role within the larger story. It helps us align with divine timing, such as feast days, sacred portals, or life cycles. And it restores our awareness of cosmic order, especially in the world designed to keep us in dissonance. The numbers don't create destiny, they reflect it. Like stars on the ceiling of a sacred temple, they show us where we are and what cords we carry. When I say I'm a 22 or I see 1111, I'm not just seeing a coincidence. I'm being reminded of my soul's original pattern. Numerology helps me remember my part in the song, the part I came to sing. So if you resonate with particular numbers, like they're your favorite or you keep seeing patterns, there's something to that. If you're drawn to any number or numbers and you're curious, Google is a good tool for that. Put in numerology of those numbers. See what is there for you. They're like tiny hidden nuggets and messages of destiny. These hidden numbers have been so helpful in my personal journey. You do have to be conscious of this though. Open to receive the messages of divine will. Mindful and aware, if you will. Some call them angel numbers because they can be messages from guides from beyond. Will you hear them? They can even come in time of the day, such as 12:12, or a group of birds that caught your attention and there was 7. When you feel the tug in your gut, it's saying, look here. That's when you ask the questions. The other thing in the Tablets of Destiny is the laws of creation. The law of resonance, frequency attracts frequency. This is the foundation. That which is like unto itself is drawn. Everything emits a frequency. Thoughts, emotions, names, intentions, and matter. The law of resonance states that you draw in what matches your vibratory field. That's why soul contracts activate when you enter resonance with their tone. It's also why healing shifts your entire path. Your tone changes, and so must what enters your field. In the tablets, this law is echoed in the way names and numbers bind energies, names given to angels, stars, and days in sacred time. It also talks about the law of correspondence, as above, so below. This law explains the mirror between the macrocosm, the star and heavens, and the microcosm of the body and soul. As it is above, so it shall be below. As it is within, so it shall be without. Your soul is a reflection of divine architecture. Your breath matches the cycles of the moon. The chakra system mirrors the planets and the stars. This law ties deeply into sacred geometry, numerology, and the Tablets of Destiny, all encoded mirrors of the greater pattern. There's also the law of divine order. Nothing is random. Creation follows codes. Every flower unfolds in Fibonacci spirals. Every planet orbits with precision. Even chaos serves a greater symmetry. This law governs timing, why some things must wait. It governs cycles, why patterns repeat until they're healed. And it also governs contracts, why your path has scheduled activations. When we restore true timekeeping, as in the Book of Jubilees, we come into alignment with this law. When you keep thinking, oh, this keeps happening to me, I don't understand why, you need to be paying attention because there's something to what's going on. Until you've learned the correct lesson from that, until you heal whatever that is calling your name, you will keep experiencing that same experience. So if you keep experiencing it, ask yourself, what's going on here? What's underneath this? Don't do surface level work or you will not get anywhere. You have to do the deep soul digging. Shadow work isn't fun. Nobody enjoys it. But on the other side of shadow work is this great alignment frequency that is so peaceful. Highly recommend, obviously. The other thing in the Tablets of Destiny is the law of free will. This law is unique, for while everything is ordered, choice remains sacred. The Watchers broke this law by descending out of divine timing and will. Free will allows the creation of distorted contracts, the possibility of redemption, and the rewriting of paths. This law explains why soul contracts can be revoked, transmuted, or fulfilled differently than first envisioned, because nothing is fixed in form, only in frequency. Next is the law of cause and effect, or karma. It's not punishment, but harmonic rebalancing. Every word, thought, and deed echoes. When out of alignment, they produce dissonance. When in harmony, they produce beauty. This is why intention is everything. Your thoughts seed the field. There's also the law of light and shadow. Light creates shadow, not as evil, but as contrast. To create and form, light must descend. Shadow is not inherently bad. It is what teaches the soul how to choose. This law is the basis of discernment, duality, and wholeness. Even the shadow is part of the painting, but it is not the painter. There's also the law of return. All things return to source. Energy sent out comes back. Cycles come home to stillness. Creation is not linear. It is spiraled. This law assures us that nothing is wasted. Even broken contracts, failed missions, or lives lost prematurely are rewoven into the greater pattern. This is the law behind restoration, resurrection, and rebirth. When I speak of the laws of creation, I'm not talking about religious rules. I'm talking about the tones that make up the song of existence. In Jubilees, events are said to be written on the heavenly tablets, a divine record of what is to be fulfilled. These are described as holding the destinies of people, appointed times and festivals, what is allowed and forbidden, and the paths chosen by patriarchs and their offspring. This is covenantal language, but it mirrors the concept of soul contracts, agreements made between soul and source that determine experiences, lessons, and missions. In 1 Enoch, the Watchers bind themselves with an oath atop Mount Hermon, a solemn pact sealed with their names that leads to major consequences. While theirs was a transgression, it shows that spiritual oaths and contracts were taken seriously with cosmic repercussions. This highlights the weight of choice in soul-level agreements, whether divine or rebellious. Many of the Qumran scrolls speak of entering the covenant of light, belonging to the sons of light or darkness by soul alignment. It talks about predestined roles written in divine books and names written in the book of life. These affirm that ancient peoples understood life choices, destinies, and moral paths as pre-agreed upon assignments, with alignment or misalignment to divine purpose. Across texts, you'll find patterns like God giving each nation its own angelic watcher or ruler, like in Jubilees 15, 31, and 32, or certain souls being chosen before birth, like Noah, Enoch, and Melchizedek. There's even prophets being called from the womb, like in Jeremiah 1:5, and a language of inheritance or allotted portions. These map closely to the soul contract concept, that before incarnating, a soul agrees to a role, a line, a timing, and a task. While the ancient texts don't say soul contract in our modern terms, they're filled with language of divine covenants, written destinies, and spiritual oaths. These were understood not as punishments or control, but as sacred alignments, meant to guide the soul toward remembrance, healing, and fulfillment of the original law. These are not things to obey, but harmonies to align with. They are already within us, coded into our breath, our names, our timing. Many people feel trapped, depleted, or lost in loops not of their true design. That's because not all contracts are soul-authored. Some are imposed, manipulated, or accepted under illusion. These false contracts often form through trauma, in moments of spiritual vulnerability, through systems of domination, religious vows, oaths of loyalty, or shame-based agreements, or in lifetimes where choice was coerced or deceived. These are not your true assignments. They are counterfeit bonds designed to siphon energy and dim inner light. Not every agreement we carry is sacred. Some are made in confusion, under pressure, or even in past lives where we didn't fully understand what we were saying yes to. These are not soul contracts. They are soul hijacks, and we have the right and the divine power to break them. This is how to break soul contracts made in deceit. Acknowledge the distortion. Say aloud or in your heart any vow, oath, or contract made under confusion, coercion, fear, shame, or deception, I now recognize as null and void. This restores your authority. Break the agreement. Visualize the contract, a scroll, chain, or web, and dissolve or burn it. You can say, by the light of my sovereign soul, I dissolve this false agreement. It holds no power over me. I reclaim what is mine. Next, call back your energy. This is an important step. Say, I now call back all energy, light, soul fragments, and power that were bound to this contract, returned, purified, healed, and reintegrated now. Imagine golden threads weaving back into your heart and solar plexus. Seal it with truth. Anchor a new frequency. I now stand in the contract of my soul's true design, aligned with love, truth, and divine harmony. You are not bound forever by any vow that violates your truth. The soul cannot be truly owned, only forgotten. To remember is to return. To speak aloud your release is to break the spell. Some may wonder, what if I need this struggle to grow? Or am I breaking a contract I was meant to fulfill? This helps you differentiate. A karmic lesson teaches and frees. It may be hard, but it awakens. A false binding drains and loops. It silences inner truth and contracts the soul. If something keeps you small, ashamed, afraid, or like you're always not enough, it's not a soul contract. It's a binding, and you can break it. I encourage awareness of lingering oaths such as, I will never speak my truth again. I must suffer to be good. I will carry this for my bloodline. I am bound to them forever. These are often ancestral, religious, or past life entanglements that repeat in this life as fears, blockages, or soul guilt. You do not owe suffering to anyone, not your lineage, not your gods, not your past. This is the system of the demiurge trying to keep you lost. After unbinding, you may feel empty or uncertain. You are not left contractless. You are returning to your original divine design, the true agreement you made before this incarnation, one rooted in joy, expansion, and remembrance. Anchor a new language. I am in alignment with my sacred mission. I walk the path of remembrance. I say yes only to what is true for my soul. I do have a gentle warning though. Do not rebind. Some people, after breaking free, unknowingly rebind themselves out of guilt, nostalgia, or fear. When you are free, be mindful of what you say yes to next. Every word is a seed. Every yes is a sigil. Soul contracts are not chains, they're harmonies. When the music turns dissonant, you are allowed to walk away. You were never meant to stay in distortion. You were always meant to return to resonance. Track energetic shifts after unbinding, like dreams, releases, and clarities. Why must you track energetic shifts after unbinding? When you break an old soul contract, especially one made in deceit, fear, or servitude, you release energy that had been bound, suppressed, or diverted. That energy doesn't just disappear. It returns to your field. Just like removing a dam from a river, the flow resumes, but the terrain around it shifts. Your soul recognizes freedom before your mind does. So after unbinding, pay attention to what stirs. Energy once trapped in a false agreement is now coming home to you. That homecoming may feel like clarity, dreaming, a release of emotion, or even physical symptoms as your body adjusts to the shift. Ask yourself, what contracts am I ready to release? What harmony am I here to restore? To me, it personally felt like this internal shivering or vibration of sorts as my biofield recalibrated. Sometimes my ears would ring or my palms would get itchy. That's normal. So keep a notebook or a voice memo log. Here are the key areas where shifts often show up. Dreams and visions. Vivid or symbolic dreams, especially involving doors, keys, animals, water, flying, or fire. Encounters with beings from past lives like ancestral lines or soul allies, or receiving instructions, names, symbols, or languages. These often reflect the integration of returned soul fragments or messages from the soul's higher plan. You might also have emotional release, like unexpected crying, from grief or relief, anger or frustration that wasn't previously felt, or sudden forgiveness, detachment, or neutrality towards someone from the old contract. These are signs of energetic cords dissolving and sovereignty restoring. You may also feel the physical sensations, kind of like I did, like tingling in your hands or feet, the energy channels reopening, headaches or fatigue, which is an adjustment period sometimes, or feeling lighter, taller, or stronger in your posture. The body often purges stuck emotion or recalibrates to receive more soul light. You might have new desires or aversions. You may have a pull towards certain people, projects, or locations, or a loss of interest in previous goals or obligations, or a desire to change your name, wardrobe, or environment. This reflects the realignment of your path to your authentic timeline now that the false contract is dissolved. You may also see synchronicities, repeating numbers, especially ones tied to your soul code, seeing owls, snakes, butterflies, or phoenixes, or hearing certain songs or phrases that speak directly to your journey. These are signs your guides, ancestors, or soul self are affirming the shift. Tracking these shifts gives evidence to the mind that something real and sacred has occurred. It builds trust between the body, mind, and soul. It reinforces your gnosis. Once you start being open and receptive and listening by paying attention, things start to change, and they become easier to notice and understand. When you honor the aftershocks of unbinding, you let your soul know, I am listening. I am ready to carry our light forward without the weight of distortion. The world starts to be seen in a different light, one that makes it not so negative and depressing, one filled with hope and joy. It personally filled me with purpose, as I now fully understand my destiny after I recovered my memories of past lives and what has happened. Visions come to me regular now, and downloads. A download is a sudden and often unexplainable arrival of truth, knowing, or imagery, delivered not from the thinking mind, but from a higher source of intelligence. It may come from your higher self, your guides, the divine, or the record of your own soul. You don't figure it out, it simply arrives. It's like waking up with information you never studied. It's a knowing that didn't come from thought, but from the soul. It feels like a flash of truth that didn't come from me, yet I remember it when it arrives. It's not something you learn, it's something you uncover. This is part of how I have found this information I share with you. Downloads can show up as a phrase or image dropped into your mind, a full body aha moment, a message heard during meditation, a sudden knowing of what to say, create, or shift. A feeling of, I already knew this, but now I remember. Downloads don't come from outside you, they come through you. They're often pieces of your own original blueprint, returning now because you're ready to remember. It is no coincidence. I fully believe there are none. How else can science explain people who go through some sort of trauma and suddenly can play an instrument that they never learned, or speak a language that they have never before spoke in this life, or even explain those who have explicit memories of past lives, and when they research them, they're found to be true and accurate? There's nothing to explain this away. Don't let yourself be gaslit by others or even yourself. There is something there. Your higher self sent it down the cord. Your guides delivered a packet of light to your spirit inbox. Your soul finally unlocked that file once your frequency matched it. Downloads are the seeds of our next becoming. They restore what was always inside of us, waiting for the right moment to bloom. Receive without needing to explain. Write it down even if it makes no logical sense. Clarity often arrives after embodiment. You do not need permission to be free. The Most High wrote your sovereignty into the fabric of your very being. What was once written in the stars is now being spoken again through you. Time is cyclical, not linear. The record ties to cosmic resets already foretold. Restoration isn't passive. Souls participate in restoring the divine pattern. Many may be remembering their roles now. There are books of life, of remembrance, of sin, and of destiny. Ancient belief holds that every act is recorded for individuals, rulers, and nations. The tablets of heaven contain the lawful design. The books reflect how the design is honored or violated. Your soul is not only written on, it is a writer. Your choices, alignments, and awakenings inscribe themselves into the cosmic archive. The final judgment is not wrathful in essence. It is a revealing, an unsealing of what was hidden. The records testify, not condemn. Every act, thought, and agreement carries a frequency. The books are not just words. They are energetic matrices that vibrate in accordance or dissonance with the original law.
The ancients understood boundaries, not just as physical borders, but as dimensional veils that separated realms of being. Heaven and earth were once intimately connected. The Garden of Eden was a threshold realm, where the spirit and matter communed freely. After the fall of Adam and later the Watchers, veils were placed between the realms to protect divine order and prevent further corruption. These realms include the heaven of heavens, the divine throne, the firmaments or layered heavens. Enoch names 7. Earth, the appointed dwelling of humankind. The abyss, where rebellious spirits are bound. And Sheol, the place of the dead or waiting souls. In Jubilees 2:2, it says, "And he placed boundaries for the spirits of heavens and the spirits of the earth." These boundaries were intentional and sacred, and ancient cosmology taught that only those with authority, purity, or divine mission could pass between. A dimensional design of harmony where balance was protected by gates, watchers, and laws, not to restrict, but to uphold resonance. Both Jubilees and 1 Enoch, especially the book of the heavenly luminaries, provide detailed descriptions of the sun, moon, stars, and winds, showing that creation operates on exact timing and patterns like we discussed. This section reminds us that the cosmos is not chaos. It's a song of mathematics, light, and rhythm, and each heavenly body holds a governing role. Ancient cosmology wasn't only visual, it was auditory. Creation was spoken, sung, or vibrated into being. And God said wasn't a metaphor. It was vibrational law. Each realm and body emits a frequency signature, like instruments in a celestial symphony, kind of like we talked about the frequency of the biofield from our heart and mind. Distortion of cosmic law often began through discordant frequency, just as healing can be achieved through attunement. The soul remembers the truth when it hears resonance. That's why music, tone, chant, and language activate inner remembering. They're harmonics of the divine map. These veils are not punishments, but protections. And as we restore alignment, gates begin to open again. You are a gate opener. The 4 directions are not symbolic. They are real forces, each governed by an angelic host, star body, or wind spirit. 1 Enoch names these wind angels and gives roles to Uriel for the north, Raphael for the east, Rachael for the south, and Michael for the west. These beings regulate seasonal portals, the flow of energies, and the judgment upon the earth. When you turn to the east in prayer or face the west to release, you're aligning with architecture of resonance and memory. The earth is described as being held up by pillars, energetic structures, not just metaphors. Some say these are tied to ley lines, mountain roots, or celestial intersections where earth meets divine law. Temples, sacred trees, and ancient stone circles were often placed where these pillars touched down. Some of you are living pillars, remembering how to walk the lines, hold the grids, and reconnect the song lines of the earth and the heavens. The cosmic structure mirrors our internal design. Chakras equal the stars, the spine equals the axis mundi, the breath equals the wind of heaven, and the heart equals a throne. Your inner temple is structured like the greater cosmos. What you remember out there, you activate within. Your body is not separate from this design. You are the scroll, the pillar, the boundary walker. The cosmos is not just where we live, it is what we are. To remember the map is to return to the harmony of law, rhythm, and sacred place. We are not lost. We are awakening in the temple of the stars. You are not a servant of fate. You are a sovereign pillar of remembrance. May those with ears to hear remember the tones once written in the stars. The tablets were never lost. They are in us, waiting to be sung again. As we return from the rhythms of the sacred festivals, may what was remembered now rise in us. The timekeepers of old still whispers beneath the stars. The soul remembers the Sabbath. The heart knows the appointed times. May your footsteps realign with the path of the ancient ones, and may each act of devotion be a seed in the soil of restoration. Next week, we will discuss the lost priesthood and the sacred stewardship, and how they tie to the Dead Sea Scrolls and other texts. Until next time, may your path be aligned, your gnosis be clear, and the veil be ever thin. The scroll remains open. Thanks for all the love and support. Much love and positive vibes.